morning, Columbus Road. Hope you're doing well this morning. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Angela Linder. I am a member here at Columbus Road Baptist Church. Last week, Deb asked if I could fill in today, and it was Deb, so I said yes. So here I am. As I was preparing for this, one thing kept coming to mind. Darren just dropped something, so we're just gonna relax. Good. One thing kept coming to mind. I'm like, oh Lord, what do you want me to talk about today? What do I have to offer for the devotionals today? And I kept thinking of a moment in my testimony when I was becoming a glassblower. So I fought it for a while, but that's where we're gonna go with this. I just have to say, I want to take this moment to tell all the pastors and everybody who does these devotionals. They've been so faithful, and they've been doing this over and over again. You don't really appreciate what they're doing until you have to do this. So thank you to all of you that take part in devotionals. Darren and everybody who do the camera work, we appreciate you. So let me tell you, some of you have heard my testimony. I did not grow up in a home that taught God. In fact, I received Christ at the age of 19 while I was in college. I was part of a Christian group on campus, and during that time, some of the leaders that were in that group, they were partaking in maybe not so Christian acts, and it just turned me off, and so I fell away, only to become a Christian, somebody who proclaims Christianity and didn't act it out. So I just kind of ran away from it, and at the age of 24, because of some really difficult situations that were going on in my life, I ran back to God. I rededicated myself. Things were really bad at the time, and I was struggling. What was also happening at that time was a door opened for me to be an apprentice glassblower. I went to art school, and I do art. So that was really exciting for me. They were going to pay me and teach me at the same time, and this was in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And so I started first day. I was like, okay, this is interesting. I had to sit still in a chair for a very long time. Second day, I was like, no, this is not for me. This was not going to be a job that I can do. Anybody who knows me knows that I can't sit still. I have to keep going. It seems like a noble thing that, oh, she's a workaholic. She gets a lot of work done, and I'm always busy. But it's, for me, I have to really keep tabs on it. It can be an escape for me. And I didn't really know how much until I ran into this job. So that week, I decided I'm going to quit. I'll just work the week, and I'll let them know this job isn't for me. Thank you very much. So that Friday, I came in only to start the torch up and swipe my hand up in front of the torch. Within a split second, I had burnt all the hand on the inside of my hand. I had to go to the doctor, had to start the process. Anybody who's had a really bad burn, you have to go through this process of scraping the skin and trying to get new skin to grow. And it just really scared me. I was almost in shock, actually. And through that weekend, all I kept thinking, there was this thing telling me, you're going to have to go back and work for at least another week, because you're going to be scared about fire for the rest of your life. So I made myself go back in there. I sat behind the torch, and long story short, I ended up working there working as a glassblower for about 8 years. So it was not easy for me, but God had a plan. It was to blow glass. This was what was going on. I had to sit behind a torch for hours a day with my own thoughts. Well, it didn't take me long to realize that I'm crazy and there is a lot going on in here. You might be saying, but Angela, you're crazy now. Oh, you don't know what I used to be. But when I burnt myself and had to stay there, and then God, 8 hours a day by myself, I had to cry with God. I had to wrestle with him with a lot of things. That 8 hours, I started off in Virginia Beach, Virginia. That turned into a job that opened up in Florida, which turned into 10 hours a day. I was sitting there 10 hours a day, which turned into, I went to Tokyo, that turned into 12-hour days. There was a Disneyland in Tokyo, and I worked there 12-hour days. But not only 12-hour days, I couldn't understand anybody who was around me. I was living in a bubble where it was just me and my thoughts and God. So during this time, I spent many hours a day wrestling with God over things I had done, over things that had happened to me, over things I was doing. And so it was a very difficult time, and at the same time, it was the most precious time of my life. So I remember thinking, God, this is horrible. Why would you do this to me? I'm already going through so much. But it turned out for the best. This is really where the process of God changing my character and building my faith started. And so he could use me for his kingdom. He couldn't really use me the way I was, and he needed to change me. So I wanted to, my passage today is Jacob, talking about Jacob wrestling with God. That is in Genesis 32, 22 through 30. Just to give you a little background, most of you know this story, but the little background to this point, Jacob was heading back to his homeland with all the wives and children and stuff that he had acquired. And he was going back. His brother was there, Esau, and he didn't have the greatest relationship with Esau. In fact, he might have done a few bad things to Esau. And so he decided to send word ahead of him, saying that he was coming and he had a gift to kind of maybe calm Esau down. Well, the only word he got back was, Esau's coming and he's got 400 men with him. Well, terror struck his heart. And so that's where we're at here. I will start reading in verse 22. And he arose, and that night he took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crossed over the ford of Jabbok. He took them, sent them over the brook, and sent them over what he had. Then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of day. Now, when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, "Let me go, for the day breaks." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." I want you to keep that part in mind. So he said to him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." And he said, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with men, and you have prevailed." So what Jacob was saying at that moment was, I need help. I need help. I am not letting go of you until you help me. Then the man, which Son of God, the God himself, pointed out a problem. "What is your name?" Well, Jacob means trickster. It means schemer. It means deceiver. He was pointing out a character flaw. I know this. This has happened to me many, many, many times. The Lord needed, at that moment, the Lord needed revelation and confession from Jacob. Then grace was released, and the nature change occurred. He went from turning to Jacob, a trickster, deceiver, and he gave him a new name. He called him man who prevailed with God, strives with God. Sometimes, as I was reading, so when I was looking in my Bible and I was studying all this, I had written down something. I don't have the name of the person who said this, but it was so wonderful. The only way to win a wrestling match with God is to lose. Jacob lost and found Israel. The only way to gain our lives is to lose our lives. Now, many of us have heard that, to gain our life, you have to lay it down. When I started looking up that verse, the passages, that alone in the four Gospels, those who try to gain their life will lose it, but those who lose their life for my name's sake will gain it, is listed 5 times in the Gospels. That must be very important to God for him to list it not in all of the Gospels, but twice in Matthew. Sometimes the struggles that we go through, they turn out to be a profoundly precious gift of God. And once you go through those struggles and you allow him to put his hand on things during those struggles, and you see him set you free, you see him answer you, it's much easier to allow him to put his hands on things. When I say things, I mean fear, shame, hopelessness, maybe bad habits. We like to stay busy. We like to run away from that stuff. I'm a Christian, but there's a point in our life, and the message last week was talking about spiritual maturity, and I know in my own life, God was just he wasn't going to put up with me being the way I was. And honestly, I wasn't showing the world Christ being that way. So we get mad when it's like you're going through something, and then all of a sudden it feels like God's putting the heat on even more. A lot of times it's just God saying, I need you to cry out, I need you I want all your attention. And then he puts his hand on something, and the best thing we can do is say, you're right, God, this is wrong. I'm going to give it to you. Whether he supernaturally removes it from you, whether he gives you a plan how to get out of it, he needs you to do that. And why does he need us to do that? Well, the world's looking at us. We are we're ambassadors of Christ on this earth. A lot of people are not reading their Bible. They want to see, words only go so far, which they want to see your actions. They want to see, really, does that work? What, they want to see something different in you. And we're supposed to be different. We're supposed to be unusual on this earth. So if you're I'm hoping if there's somebody out there and you're going through struggles, lay it down. Let him have his way. There's a passage now. I've been at it for 25 years. There's a lot of stuff that God's put his hand on, but it gets easier and easier to me. And when I feel that God's about to deal with me with something, now I immediately, this Psalms 139, 23 through 24 comes to mind. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my fears. And see if there is any wicked in me, and lead me in the way of everlasting. I don't say that out of prideness. Look at me, God. Go ahead, see if there's any wickedness in me. No, I'm like, go ahead. Because I know how good it feels when you put your hand on something and you know it's not good for me and you want to take it away, and I feel so much better. That's why I can come to him and I can trust him with anything, and I hope that you will trust God with anything that's going on in your life right now. I'd like to finish off with a word of prayer for everybody that's watching. Dear Jesus, I just thank you so much that you're good. You are awesome. We just love you. Anybody who is watching, anybody who's going to watch, I just ask, Father, right now, and everybody in our church family, I just ask right now that you would just be there for them, that you would help us grow as a family, you would help us grow as Christians, you would bring character to us, that you would build our faith so we can run to you even more and be the soldiers of God that you have called us to be in this time, this really crazy time, Father. The world needs to see you through us. And I just ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you. You have a wonderful day.